The gift bag was soft blue, with white ribbon handles exactly the color of the suit I wore at our wedding. I remember thinking, God, he remembered. I smiled, touched the tissue paper gently. Inside, a silk scarf and a handwritten note, for the woman who makes everything better, always. I reread the word always like it meant something. He handed me the bag with one hand and walked out with our marriage in the other. Just a quick meeting, he said, kissing my forehead. Dinner later? I nodded, scarf still in my lap. Heart full, I had no idea that as he walked out, a legal courier was walking and slipping a thick envelope under our door. The knock came 10 minutes later. I thought it was flowers, or maybe dessert. I opened the door, still smiling, still barefoot. No one was there. Just a manila envelope with my name typed neatly across it. I didn't recognize the law firm at first, not until I opened it. Not until I saw the word petitioner, Eli Voss. It felt like a blade. Not through the chest but lower, a gutting, and unraveling. I clutched the scarf tighter like it could hold me together. I read every line. My fingers trembled. It was real, not hypothetical. Not a threat. It had already been filed on our anniversary. While I was lighting a candle for dinner, my knees hit the couch. The scarf slid to the floor. He didn't even tell me. No fight, no warning. Just a gift and a signature, a ceremony of silence. I picked up the envelope again, searching for some clue. Some humanity, but legal language doesn't cry, it only cuts. I called his phone. Straight to voicemail. I texted, "What is this?" No response. I called again, still nothing. The silence was louder than any argument we'd ever had. It wasn't a conversation, it was a sentence. One he handed down without a trial. I looked around the room, suddenly seeing it differently. The wine glasses set out, the framed photo of us in Venice, the candles flickering like fools. And then I saw the receipt tucked in the bottom of the bag. He'd bought the scarf 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks, he knew, he planned this. The gift was a distraction, a decoy. I started shaking. Not from sadness, from fury, from humiliation. How? Do you wrap betrayal in ribbon? How do you pretend to love someone while filing a document to erase them? It wasn't just the divorce, it was the performance, the cruelty of timing. The lie in every gesture. He chose today, of all days. The day I said yes to forever, the day I swore I'd keep choosing him. And he responded with paperwork, with a printed exit strategy, with a kiss that meant goodbye while I still thought it meant later. I didn't cry, not yet. I stared at the note in the gift bag. Always, that single word burned. Not because it was false but because he weaponized it, turned it into a curtain to hide what he was really doing. Always, he couldn't even stay long enough for dinner. I walked to the kitchen, poured wine with shaking hands. I didn't sip it, I held it like I was still holding onto the fantasy. Like maybe the wine would make it make sense. It didn't, it only made it sharper, clearer, colder. I picked up the scarf again, held it up to my neck like I was trying on grief. It smelled like packaging and perfume, like something meant to comfort. But now laced with poison, a souvenir from a war I didn't know I'd already lost. He filed for divorce in secret. On the same day he handed me a silk apology I didn't ask for, and that's when I knew the man I married no longer existed, only the exit did. Eli and I met in the middle of winter. I was late to a networking event, my heels soaked in slush. My patience thin. He offered me a napkin and a smile. I didn't believe in fate, but I believed in timing, and he arrived right when I'd stopped believing in anything. I didn't know yet that charm could be a disguise. Our first year was easy. Laughter came naturally. We finished each other's stories. We talked about the future like it was already waiting for us to catch up. Eli liked to plan. He mapped our trips by the hour. I liked spontaneity. We made it work, for a while. We danced between chaos and control. He proposed on a Tuesday. No flash, no crowd, just us, barefoot in the kitchen. We're already building something, he said. Let's call it forever, and I did. I said yes, because it felt safe, not the movie kind of love, but the rooted kind, the kind you depend on, not dream about. We built a business together, a small family firm. He handled contracts, I handled clients. I loved that we shared more than bills, we shared ambition. Late nights, early mornings, spreadsheets stained with coffee. I didn't need passion fireworks. I had partnership, and I thought that was enough. There were hard years. We lost a pregnancy. Then another. We fought, cried. He got quiet. I got angry, but we stayed. We held hands in waiting rooms and shared playlists on long drives. I told myself real love isn't about ease, it's about endurance. We survived everything. Or so I thought. Our anniversaries were always quiet. A bottle of wine, a handwritten card. Sometimes he cooked, sometimes I did. We never missed one. Until this year, when he filed paperwork instead of reservations, and I was left holding a scarf instead of a kiss. I used to wake up before him just to watch him sleep. I thought love meant memorizing the rise and fall of someone's breath. I used to think Eli breathed safety. Now I think he was just resting between strategies. He was never spontaneous. He double-checked locks and backup plans, which meant this divorce, it wasn't impulsive. It was engineered, designed, filed before I even knew we were falling. That realization made everything we shared feel suspicious. Like I'd been dancing alone. Even the moments that felt real now feel curated. The Venice trip, the couples therapy, the night we stayed up talking until 3 a.m. about growing old without growing apart. Did he believe it then? Or was he just keeping the peace until the papers were ready? I told Renee once that Eli was my anchor. She said, "Make sure he's not your cage." I laughed, thought she was being dramatic. But now her voice echoes louder than his ever did. Maybe I wasn't grounded. Maybe I was trapped in a marriage that taught me to shrink. He never raised his voice. Never cheated, at least not physically, but he withheld information, emotion, truth. That's a different kind of abuse, one that whispers instead of screams. One that makes you question yourself more than the other person. I didn't see the silence coming. I thought silence meant peace, that no news was good news, that a quiet marriage was a stable one. But maybe silence is just the sound of someone emotionally packing. Now I lie in bed wondering how many days I lived with someone who was already gone. I gave my best years to a man who saved his exit for our anniversary. The first crack was subtle. He stopped drinking coffee in the morning. Eli was a 2-cup man for as long as I'd known him. Black, no sugar, but suddenly, it was green juice, trying something new. He said, "Small change," but it stuck with me because change is never just about taste. It's about distance. Then came the late meetings, the quick showers before going out. The sudden interest in running, despite hating cardio for a decade. It clears my head. He told me, tying his laces without looking up, but his head wasn't clearing, it was exiting. He started keeping his phone face down, always on vibrate. I asked once, half joking, anyone I should be worried about? He smiled, just trying to be present, but he wasn't present. He was practicing absence. One ignored moment at a time. I remember the dinner where he didn't touch his food, just stared at his plate like it might explain something. I asked about work. He said, "It's fine." I asked about us. He said, "You're overthinking again." But something in his eyes told me I wasn't invited to our future anymore. He stopped saying we. It was always "I think," "I want," "I'm planning." I laughed it off at first. Called it a midlife itch, but language doesn't lie, people do. And Eli was slowly erasing the plural from our lives, one pronoun at a time. Renee noticed it too. "He's distracted," she said, "disconnected." I defended him, said he was tired, said we were fine, but every time I said fine, something inside me flinched. Because fine is what we say when we're too scared to say falling apart. Then came the locked drawer in his office. He said it was for client files, but he never used to lock anything. I never checked, never questioned, until the night I needed a file and found the key missing. When I asked, he said, "It's just easier this way." But easy doesn't mean honest. He became obsessed with routine. Everything had to be predictable: meals, schedules, even the way I folded laundry. "You're folding the towels differently," he once said. I thought he was joking, but his tone was sharp, like I was breaking a rule I didn't know existed. I found myself shrinking to fit the space he allowed. Less laughter, less chaos, less me. I used to leave post-it notes in his briefcase. He stopped responding. I stopped writing them. That's how it happens. You stop doing things, they stop noticing, until the silence feels safer than the rejection. We stopped touching, not in anger, just in absence. No more hand on the lower back when passing by, no more kiss on the shoulder in bed. We shared space like strangers, cordial, polite, distant. I thought maybe all marriages go through this, but deep down I knew ours wasn't resting, it was ending. He used to light candles on bad days, turn music on when I was tense, but now my stress was an inconvenience. He started sighing when I vented, eyeing his phone, leaving the room. I wasn't his partner anymore. I was his burden, his delay, his placeholder. He started calling Hannah Moore his sister, the one who never liked me. I overheard one call. "I'm almost done," he whispered. I told myself he was talking about a case. But what case ends with a wedding anniversary? I started dreaming of locked doors, of standing in our kitchen with no windows, no way out, waking up breathless. I didn't know my body was already preparing for abandonment. By the time the papers arrived, my heart had already started grieving. It just hadn't told my hands to let go yet. The manila envelope was heavier than I expected. I kept reading the words dissolution of marriage like they'd morph into something else if I blinked long enough. But they didn't, they stayed. Black ink on white paper, final, legal, cold, my name typed like a stranger's, no greeting, no explanation, just formality in motion. I held the scarf in one hand, the petition in the other. The contrast burned. One said "I love you," the other said "I'm done." That was the moment everything changed, not the filing, not the leaving, the Moment I realized he wanted me to be confused, he planned the cruelty, he didn't want confrontation. He wanted distance, clean hands, a curated exit. He gave me a gift so I wouldn't ask questions, he walked out so I couldn't demand answers. I was holding proof of love and rejection at the same time and both felt like lies. I read the details he filed a week before, not yesterday, not. That morning, he'd been walking around with this decision, eating my dinners, sleeping in our bed, laughing at my jokes, planning my erasure, and I was planning an anniversary surprise he would never receive. The filing included a request for amicable separation, no spousal support, no negotiation. Just division, divide and delete. He wasn't just ending the marriage, he was rewriting the story. As if our years together could be folded like a spreadsheet and filed away. I saw the name of his attorney and my stomach turned. It was someone we knew. A man we'd had dinner with, someone I once invited to our home. How long had they been planning this? How many people knew before I did, and how many stayed silent? I called Hannah. I don't know why, maybe I hoped she'd lie, pretend to be surprised. But she wasn't, she said, I thought he told you, her voice flat, no regret, no warmth. Like I was a business deal that had gone stale, he just needs space, she added. Like my heartbreak was an inconvenience, I hung up and screamed. Into a pillow, the kind of scream that comes from the soles of your feet. That rips through your ribs, that tastes like blood and betrayal. I wasn't just heartbroken. I was humiliated. I was holding a damn gift bag while my marriage was being terminated behind my back. I tore the scarf. Not because it hurt me, because it mocked me, because it was beautiful and soft and meaningless now. Just another prop in a carefully directed play I never agreed to perform in. I threw it across the room and watched it land on the floor quiet. Like him, I sat on the cold tile floor until my legs went numb. I didn't cry right away, I couldn't. My body didn't understand yet, my mind was still catching up, still checking the time, still waiting for him to walk back in and say, just kidding. But he didn't, he never would. When I finally moved, it was slow, mechanical. I lit the candles I'd set out for dinner, poured the wine, opened the folder again. Read it like scripture, like maybe if I memorized it, it would hurt less, spoiler. It didn't. I looked at the calendar, June 14th, 10 years to the day. A decade of building a life together celebrated by demolition papers. My name and his, no longer entwined, just parallel on a line that meant separation, and still. I searched for a note, a message, anything from him, but all I had was a scarf and silence. And in that silence, I finally heard it, the end. I didn't leave the apartment for 3 days, the dishes stayed in the sink. The candles burned out where I left them, the scarf lay torn in the corner. Its frayed threads like nerves exposed. I moved through rooms like they belonged to someone else, ghosting through a life I no longer recognized. My phone buzzed with people wishing happy anniversary. Irony twisted inside me. I responded to none. Every congrats felt like another punch. No one knew. He hadn't told anyone, not officially, only Hannah, his cold-eyed sister. Which meant I was now the keeper of a secret I never asked to hold. I tried to work. Emails blurred. Client calls echoed. I couldn't focus, couldn't care. My business was built on trust, precision, communication, everything Eli had just shattered. How could I speak about contracts when mine had been emotionally incinerated? Renee came over. She didn't speak at first, just sat beside me, handing me tissues and a mug of tea I didn't touch. Then finally, say it out loud. I shook my head. She insisted. So I whispered, he filed for divorce on our anniversary, and just like that, the tears finally came, not soft, not cinematic, ugly, guttural sobs. I couldn't breathe. My ribs hurt, my hands curled into fists around the couch cushions. Renee held me like she'd held her sister at a funeral because something had died. Not just a marriage, but a belief, a home, a promise. I kept asking the same question. Why today? Why this day? If he hated me, he could have said so. If he needed to leave, he could have had the decency to do it like a man. But he wanted this. The drama, the power, the final word without the final conversation. He timed it perfectly. The gift, the absence, the delivery, it wasn't just betrayal, it was architecture. He didn't just walk away, he orchestrated my collapse, and that realization boiled into rage. This wasn't love ending, this was betrayal in a ribbon bag. I took the scarf and burned it in the sink, watched it blacken, curl, vanish. Smoke rose in delicate twists. For a moment, it smelled sweet, then toxic, just like him. I opened the window and let the air carry it away. I deleted our shared calendar, erased reminders, cleared playlists. I opened the file folder labeled Eli and me and started dragging photos to the trash. But halfway through, I stopped, not because I couldn't delete him, because I didn't want him to vanish like he'd done to me. No, I would keep the evidence. The receipts, the chronology of decay, not to mourn, to expose, to remember, to use. Because there's a difference between grieving and preparing. And I was done grieving. I began writing, documenting dates, messages, details. Every quiet red flag I'd ignored, every clipped sentence. Every time he said we'll talk later and never did, I turned our love story into a record, into fuel. He thought I'd collapse and stay broken. He forgot who rebuilt this marriage every time he shut down. And this time, I was rebuilding without him. I pulled up our bank statements that night, the kind we always balanced together. And there it was, a wire transfer dated days before our anniversary, to an account labeled EF, not ours. That's when I decided to investigate. With Renee's help, we confronted the pattern of secrecy he'd woven: payroll, insurance, secondary accounts. His divorce line wasn't the start. It was the end of a series of calculations. I logged into our shared business email and found messages to someone using that EF address. She called him partner, mentor. Renee guessed it was a professional cover, but something felt personal to personal. Then I found it, a travel itinerary to Paris, billed to our company. Dated last month, their anniversary. He wasn't just planning to leave me. He was planning a new life with someone else. I smiled. Not because I was happy, but because he thought I wouldn't look. He left breadcrumbs, but not enough to hide. I forwarded everything to my lawyer, faxes, copies, timestamps. He filed to claim amicable divorce. I filed back with proof that it wasn't just divorce, it was manipulation, abandonment in disguise. Renee helped call vendors, hotel confirmation, room service receipts. All in his name, all during our marriage, all without my knowledge. Evidence sat in neat folders on my desk. Each sheet felt like armor against his story, against his silence, against the gift bag that kicked it all off. I called a forensic accountant for our business. Found he had quietly transferred assets to that EF account. About half the company's operational funds, taken while we celebrated our anniversary. Betrayal wasn't just filed, it was funded. I showed the accountant Renee's last report. She nodded, took photos. This looks purposeful, she said, not a misstep. My heart thudded. Not from shock, from validation, from clarity. I wasn't paranoid, I wasn't overreacting. I was unraveling his scheme. That night, I printed everything, signed forms, filed affidavits, sent certified letters. His lawyer responded with a terse agreement: no need to escalate matters. But I had a clause ready: transparency, complete financial disclosure, no more shadows. I kept the gift bag. Now it sat on my desk, empty, ribboned but defeated, a symbol of his deceit, a promise undone. A reminder that my pain could be repurposed as power, and that the gift he gave me so carefully staged would end up starring in my defense. It wasn't about revenge, yet it was about justice, about dismantling the illusion of amicability, about making sure every step he took without me wouldn't vanish in court filings. He filed for divorce in secret, but I filed the truth in public. And in that filing, the financial one, the factual one, I reclaimed everything he tried to hide. I wore black to the mediation, not for drama, for precision, for mourning what he buried in silence. Eli arrived late, calm, pretending nothing had happened. His lawyer handed me a folder, smug, sealed with preset terms, simple, they called it. I slid my folder across the table in return. Mine wasn't simple. Mine was surgical. Inside were spreadsheets, transaction reports, printouts of shared funds rerouted, a timeline marked with Paris hotel confirmations, photos, screenshots, copies of the scarf receipt and the divorce filing side by side. It was a map of betrayal laid out in ink and timestamp. His lawyer blinked. Eli didn't speak. I didn't need to yell. I didn't need tears. I just looked at him and said, "You built an exit. I built a case." And in that moment, the air changed. He wasn't in control anymore. He'd filed the papers. But I filed the truth. The settlement changed drastically. His amicable requests dissolved. I claimed the house, half the business, emotional damages, restitution for misused funds. It wasn't revenge, it was justice. Itemized. He didn't argue, couldn't. His paper armor had already burned. He texted that night, "You didn't have to destroy me." I stared at the message. Destroy? No, I exposed. I responded with a screenshot of his bank transfers. No words, just facts. He left me holding a gift bag. I left him holding the bill. I updated our clients personally in a statement I crafted carefully. We remain committed to integrity, something this transition has clarified even more. I didn't name him, I didn't need to. Reputation. Whispers louder than accusations. Hannah called once, said, "He's struggling." I said, "He started this." She hung up. That was the last I heard from her. I wasn't surprised. She chose silence once. She can live with it now. I filed a public record of the revised settlement attached with an affidavit of misconduct. Not to shame him, to protect the next woman. To make sure silence wouldn't be the final chapter for someone else. The house feels different now. Lighter, the walls echo differently. I replaced our anniversary photos with abstract art. I donated the wine glasses. I bought new candles, ones with sharp scents, peppercorn, tobacco, sage, no more sweetness. Only strength. I framed the scarf receipt, hung it beside my desk, not to remember him, to remember me, the woman who didn't break, who followed the trail, who turned a farewell gift into evidence. He thought I'd disappear in silence. He forgot I speak fluently in exposure. It's been 11 months since I opened that envelope. Since I held betrayal in one hand and a silk scarf in the other. The papers are filed. The signature's dry. The silence has ended, not because he spoke, but because I didn't wait. For closure, I created it. Out loud, on paper, in full view. The anniversary came again. This time, I celebrated it differently. I booked a solo trip to Barcelona. I sat on a rooftop with a glass of red wine, watching the sunset over a city that didn't know him. I toasted to myself, to freedom, to endings that become openings. The scarf is gone. The gift bag too, but I kept the photo of that Damie holding the bag, standing in the doorway. Still unaware. I don't look at it with shame, I look at it as proof. That woman didn't see the hit coming, but she stood up anyway. I started writing again. Not just documents, but essays, stories, pieces of truth stitched together with power. Women write to me now, strangers, saying, "Your story gave me strength," and I write back, "It gave me strength too." That's the difference between pain and purpose. He lives in a condo now, smaller, quieter. From what I hear, the new partner left. Maybe she saw through him, maybe he showed her too much. Or maybe, just maybe, karma doesn't send a warning, it shows up dressed as consequence. I pass our old courthouse sometimes. I used to flinch, now I smirk. That's where he ended it. But it's also where I began. He thought filing divorce in secret would break me. But all he did was give me something no one can steal back. Clarity. I don't wear silk anymore. I wear linen, strong, unyielding, unapologetic. My favorite is a pale blue blouse, the same color as the gift bag. Every time I wear it, I remember. Not him, me, the woman who stood up from the floor, printed the documents, and demanded more than an apology. Sometimes I reread his note. For the woman who makes everything better, he was right. I did. I made our business better, our home better, him better, and now I make myself better every damn day. He left with the house. I kept the story, and the story is mine now.